So the other day, a friend of mine asked me, what is PBIS? In 5 minutes or less. So here you go. So what's PBIS? PBIS stands for Positive Behavior Interventions and Supports. It's also called PBS, and it's probably the most widely used school climate and behavior program in the world because it reduces problem behavior and increases student and teacher well-being. It moves the school from being punitive to more positive. The reason you want to use school-wide PBIS is that it prevents problem behavior in the first place so that we can help kids and teachers build better relationships and we can increase learning. Often a school will see a 60% reduction in problem behavior in just the first year. PBIS is a framework developed by researchers from the University of Oregon, and they studied what works in school and classroom discipline. Where were the safest schools and where were the best classrooms? What did they all have in common? And what they came up with was basically a list of what to do. PBIS is not a program or a kit that you can just buy. It's actually just a list of best practices that lead to safe, positive schools with happy kids and teachers. On the list, you'll find these 4 important components. First, establish school-wide expectations. Next, teach the school-wide expectations directly and regularly to the students. Next, create a positive reinforcement system for your school. And then, respond to challenging behavior with consistent consequences. So the first thing you do is you establish school-wide expectations to create a consistent system across the school. Research shows that we need to narrow these down to just 3 to 5 in order for them to be memorable. The expectations you choose should target all forms of behavior, and the most common example is be safe, be respectful, be responsible, maybe be kind. And then you define what those values will look like in action by explicitly describing the guidelines for every setting in your school. How do you want kids to behave in the bathrooms, in the hallways, in classrooms? And when we make the rules and the expectations, we state them positively. So it's better to say, keep your hands and your feet to yourself, than it is to say, don't hit. And that's because research shows we're more likely to comply with do requests than don't requests. So when we say walk please, we're telling students exactly what we expect. The next thing to do is to teach the expectations directly to the students. Ideally, you'd have more in-depth teaching at the beginning of the year and after winter and spring breaks, like a rules roundabout, and then you follow up with weekly review lessons throughout the year. The very best way to teach something is on location, taught by the staff member who's going to be there to monitor the kids. So the librarian teaches the library lesson, the yard supervisor teaches the playground lesson. Another great way to teach students is through classroom circles, particularly for expectations and rules that kids have a lot of opinions and emotions about, like cell phones. Circles help students feel like they're part of a decision-making process, that they helped create the rules, so they're more likely to follow them, they understand them. And the more consistent that staff are, the less stressful the school environment is, because teachers are more predictable and less reactive. Then after students know what's expected of them, create a positive reinforcement system for your school. Most schools you'll see a ticket system with lots of verbal praise to reinforce the positive behaviors. We should strive for 4 positive comments to every correction, or 4 to 1. What's really important to remember is that when you teach an expectation, be ready to give lots of positive praise when kids are doing the newly learned appropriate behavior. That's how we get the new behaviors to stick. We use positive reinforcement systems because the research shows you get more of the behavior you pay attention to. And then, respond to challenging behavior with consistent consequences that are restorative and teaching in nature. When kids don't demonstrate the right behaviors, give useful corrections, provide a lot of practice, and instead of sending kids away with suspensions and detentions, you want to provide interventions and support to help them change their behavior. Use restorative practices so they can accept responsibility and repair harm and restore relationships. Schoolwide PBIS is about first coming to agreements as staff What are the expectations in our school? And then we teach those expectations regularly and in different ways. We offer lots of praise and we create a positive reinforcement system for our schools. And when students make mistakes, we give useful corrections. We give opportunities to practice in order to build the culture we want. Research shows that effective behavioral expectations make schools safer, and it makes kids and staff happier because they create a culture of consistency and positivity. For more on how to implement PBIS at your school, go to lauramooiman.com and check out my other YouTube videos and subscribe to my YouTube channel.